episode. That was last Tuesday/Wednesday morning, and tonight we're heading west for our over/unders.
Just like
Jay, how you doing
Flacco.
tonight? He's not heading west, he's heading south, just like the
Southwest.
Browns franchise.
Southwest, baby. Southwest.
Where should where should we move him? What city wants the Cleveland Browns?
Peoria.
We're taking
Peoria,
we're taking
Illinois.
bids right now. Where should they go? I'm being serious. Where can we send the Cleveland Browns?
Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
Jackson Hole, Wyoming. All right, there's a lot of money in Jackson Hole. I like it. They could be the elk, the Jackson Hole elk, and then the Cleveland. What's our franchise going to be called? What do you want to call it?
Um, hmm.
What do you want to call it? What's a very Cleveland name? The Cleveland Flats. How
I'm
about
not
that?
gonna say what I'm gonna
Call
say. I'm gonna say what I was gonna say.
the
It's not
Clowns.
gonna, no, well, no. Okay, clowns. Sure, that's what I'm gonna say. Just because I'm not gonna
Clowns. I
say.
like it.
I will.
I
I
think
will
it'll be.
tell you
I think it'll be
later. I
perfect.
will tell you later what I was gonna say. All right.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. Sounds like a plan.
All
I don't
right.
want to waste any more time. I don't want to waste any more time watching the games of that franchise. I just want them to move. I want NFL
Well,
football
they
to
are
leave
moving.
Cleveland. That's my yeah, they are.
Brook Park,
They
baby.
are. Yeah, it's going to be great. I'm sure it'll erase all the quality football we've been able to watch over the years. All right, that's enough NFL for tonight. Western Conference. All right, go.
All right. We're starting with the Dallas Mavericks. Their over under is 41 and a half, Mike. Oof. This one has me thinking here. Like, okay, so Kyrie's out. Okay. They're in the Western Conference. Kyrie's out. We don't have an idea when he's going to come back, but it's not going to if he comes back, it's not going to be until end of the year, right? Really? Like he won't be back.
Yeah, I think the earliest. I feel like the earliest he would be back
February, March.
if he comes back at all is February sometime, and that would be at the earliest. And I guess again, it's one of those cases, right? And I think we didn't really talk about Tatum much last week, but part of it is could these guys come back? Maybe.
Is it worth
But
them
if they do
risking
come
themselves?
back, they're risking themselves for neither one of those teams is going to be near the top of the standings, even if they're in line to make the play in or squeak in as a 6 seed. And then you're asking those guys not only to come back, but you're asking them to come back during what presumably will be a playoff run at the end of the season where they're playing meaningful games
Crucial
that they have
minutes.
to
Yeah.
win in order to qualify, right? And then you're asking them to continue and play playoff minutes. So in the first whatever 20 games they play or 30 games they play, it's not like you're going to be easing them back into a regular season game where they can and I'm not saying they put it on cruise control, but obviously the intensity level of a playoff game is different from the intensity level of a regular season game. And so I just think that to me, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for either one of those guys to come back mid-season or towards the end of the season. But by the same token, you can completely understand that if they are healthy and the doctors have given them clearance to go ahead and play, I can speak for myself, and I'm sure you would probably say the same thing that if somebody cleared you and said, "Hey, you're okay to play," guys would want to play. And you can completely understand why. And yet at the same time, it feels to me like if you're either one of those organizations, that you would be unbelievably cautious in bringing either one of those guys back when you consider what is at stake moving forward. Obviously, with Tatum younger, probably at a higher level than Kyrie, but still, even with Kyrie Irving, if you're the Dallas Mavericks and Nico Harrison, you have basically stated your intention of trying to win a championship within this small window. And clearly Kyrie is a huge part of that. So do you want to risk another year or another potential re-injury in order to compete for a play-in spot or a 6 seed where presumably you're going to lose in the first round anyway?
Yeah. So they have the ninth highest over under total. So they're projected based on FanDuel. Once again, this is FanDuel. Based on FanDuel, this is they predict that they're a play-in team. 41 and a half. I honestly think that if this team is 500, that sounds about right. I I, I think it's an under for me. Um, I think it's got to be the under for 41.5 for me, just because the Western Conference is so tough.
So I think if you're betting the over, the bet is that Cooper Flag is going to be very, very good right away. And I don't know exactly what that means. I don't know if you've read or listened to much of the things just kind of talking about where he's at in training camp, and they played their first exhibition game. I was last night or the night before, which I didn't watch, but just have read and heard other people's reactions to it. And most of what it seems like is coming out is that a lot of people don't feel like Flag is going to be a guy who's going to put up 22 a game this year, but that he could be a guy that scores 15 and has an impact on both ends of the floor. And look, that's probably going to be enough to get him a Rookie of the Year award if he's playing that well on both sides of the ball. But is he ready? And are they going to give him the ball? In the first exhibition game, they started D'Angelo Russell, which is what I think was the plan all along. But then there was rumors that maybe they'd start Flag and just kind of turn the team over to him and let him handle the ball. I don't really know what to make of the rest of the roster, because when you look at, clearly Derek Lively and Anthony Davis are two of their best three players at this point.
Yeah.
And if you're playing Derek Lively at the 5 and he's the rim runner, then that means AD's playing the 4 and he's, I don't know exactly where he is, 18 feet away from the basket shooting long twos because he's not really a 3-point shooter. It's not really the best use of Anthony Davis, who clearly at this point in his career and probably for almost the entirety of his career has been more effective and positionally been a 5. And so it's just a matter of, can a huge lineup, if they start AD, Lively, and Flag in the front court, now that's going to be a pretty menacing lineup defensively, but I wonder about the spacing. And then you have D'Angelo Russell at the head of that thing trying to orchestrate it. How does Clay fit in? There's a lot of pieces here that are interesting, but I'm not sure exactly how the size and everything fits together. I think if you're betting the over, you're betting on Cooper Flag being even better than what people project, because he's going to kind of have to be, I think, the fulcrum of this team if they're going to be good. And if you go under, I don't think that's selling on Cooper Flag. I think it's more a case of he's going to be a very, very, very good rookie, but he's not going to be a guy that's going to carry a team into the playoffs by himself. And considering the fact that he reclassed and he's 18 years old, I don't think you can even remotely expect that that's the kind of performance you're going to get out of him, right? In his first year.
Yeah. I mean, LeBron couldn't carry a team. And
right. That's what I'm saying.
It's like there's no way. So are you taking the under on this? Is that what you're doing?
I'm going to take the under only because, again, I just think that this team, the way that the pieces fit together don't make a lot of sense to me. I think there's a lot of duplication in their front court, and I don't like the idea of a weird team that's then being run by D'Angelo Russell at the point. That doesn't really excite me. At the same time, I'm super excited to watch Flag and see what he's going to be.
Yeah.
And whether or not, what kind of player he can be at both ends of the floor. Because when he first came on the scene, everybody thought he was going to be a dominant defender. That was kind of his first thing, right? He was a shot blocker and he could just do all kinds of stuff. And now, I mean, who knows how tall he is? Is he 6'7"? Is he 6'9"? Is he 6'10"? I have no idea exactly how tall he is.
You just wanted to say 6'7", Mike.
That's right, 6'7". So anyway, we'll see what we'll see what Flag does. I'm really excited to watch him play, more just to see what kind of player he is right now, and sort of to look at what kind of player can he become. Can he become the first white American superstar in a long time? Let's put it that way.
Tyler Hansbrough would like to have a word with you, Mike. I'm just kidding. Anyways.
The college level. I got a North Carolina thing for you when we hang up after the podcast. So remind me.
All right. I'll remind you. All right. Denver Nuggets, 54.5. So once again, we're in a situation where like this team has changed. It's hypothetically for the better, right? Michael Porter Jr. is gone. And the team's better. But And I look at the rest of the Western Conference, and I just look at these over-unders for the rest of these teams. And they are, as 54.5, are sitting as the second best team in the West, according to over-unders. And you can guess who the first team is. But I just think this is a 56 to 58 win team. I think this is an over. The biggest question mark that would make me question whether I want to hit the over here is, does Jokic care about winning in the regular season?
I think he does. I think he does.
I think he cares about playing basketball in the way that he always has played basketball, right? I think he's going to always do his best, and he's not going to take he's not going to purposefully take nights off. But this comes down to Jamal Murray's health. What's that going to look like? Is he going to be even how hampered is he going to be this year? Because he had clear, he kind of had a little bit of a resurgence in the playoffs. He had some good games in the playoffs, but most of the regular season, I think you would agree, he was down, right? He was down.
Yeah, he was bad. He was bad. I mean, he was bad in the regular season. I mean, bad for Jamal Murray. You know what I mean? He was not.
Yeah. So, but I'm gonna hit the over. I think this is a 56 to 58 win team.
I agree. I'm going over on the Nuggets, and I think you hit on a little bit of the keys to it, right? I mean, the offseason, you add 3 guys off your bench who can play minutes in a playoff series. So you have Tim Hardaway, you have Bruce Brown, and you have Jonas Valanciunas. And in various degrees, those
friend of the pod,
guys
Tim Hardaway, Mike.
There you go, friend of the pod, Tim Hardaway Jr. Tim Hardaway Sr. will be coming up soon at the beginning of November. We'll have Tim Hardaway Sr.'s episode come out when he puts out his new book, man. Killer Crossover. Great book for anyone. And we'll promote that when we get to that episode. But yes, Tim Hardaway Jr., Valanciunas, and Bruce Brown all add something off the bench that the Nuggets were lacking last year, productive players. And it also eliminated Russell Westbrook as a factor on this team. So
addition by subtraction
upgrades. Yeah, it did. That's an addition by subtraction move. Ultimately, I think the Nuggets ceiling even more. Look, those 3 guys, the depth was clearly needed. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Westbrook still hasn't signed with anyone, right? Westbrook still hasn't signed with anyone, right?
Westbrook and Ben Simmons both unsigned at this point. So interesting. I think that those guys, Tim Hardaway, Valanciunas, and Bruce Brown, I think those guys raised the floor on the Nuggets regular season when you think about their depth, and then you just think about those guys can fill minutes. I think Denver's championship ceiling is honestly dependent upon Jamal Murray's health and what kind of Jamal Murray you're getting, and not even in the regular season. Can the Jamal Murray of the championship run raise his head at some point and perform in that same way that he did when he was as good as any second fiddle that we can recall in recent years? I mean, he was fantastic in the Nuggets championship run. And so I think that the new additions, like I said, those guys set the floor relatively high. They make the Nuggets probably a better regular season team. I do think they also help in the playoffs because they're guys that are veterans that have been there, that have performed well in playoff situations. But ultimately, I think that for Denver to, as good as Jokic is, for Denver to be able to have a chance to win the title, I think Murray has to come pretty close to approximating what he was in that championship run, where he was consistently game in and game out one of the best guards in the league in the playoffs that season. And he's never had a regular season like that consistently for 82 games, whether due to injury or just performance. But I do think this team is better. They're deeper. I do think Cam Johnson over Michael Porter Jr., just from an injury risk and playing both ends of the floor, I think he's an upgrade. And because they were able to dump salary, getting rid of Porter Jr., that allowed them to upgrade the bench. So I think Denver's in a better position in the regular season. And I think they're in a better position in the playoffs. But are they a true championship contender is going to come down to Jamal Murray's health and ability to perform like vintage Jamal Murray. So I'm going over on the Nuggets.
All right. I think we're going to have our first disagreement on the next one. It's my prediction. The Golden State Warriors.
All right.
46 and a half.
Okay.
I'm going over.
Okay.
Um,
You're right. I'm going under. So go ahead.
okay. So I think, listen, I think Steph Curry, a full season of Jimmy Butler, Draymond still being the menace that Draymond is. Okay. Add Al Horford, which we've been joking for years about the corpse of Al Horford, but he's still such a productive player. And I think he's going to fit seamlessly into the system, primarily because he can stand in the corner and shoot threes, right? Like he can do that as a big. He's not going to shoot him at a clip like Steph Curry or some Kevin Durant, but he's a productive enough player that he's going to do that. And I just think, there were flashes of certain things with the Golden State last year, and then the injury bug got them in the playoffs, and Butler was hurt, and I just think this team is good. I don't think they're great. I'm going to be clear here. I don't think they're a great team. I think they're a good team, and I think that they can win 47 games. I don't think they can win 50 games, but I think when I'm looking at these other teams that have a higher win total than them, and we'll talk about them shortly, I don't think they're better than these teams. Okay, I think they're better than the teams that have higher win totals. Some of them at least. So we'll talk about that when we talk about to get there. But when it comes down to it, am I going to? There's a lot of stock in, and we once again I'll get like, do I have faith that Golden State is going to be healthier and more? And this is the reason that I'm saying this, less drama filled than some of the other teams that are on this list. I mean, well, you got Draymond on your team, and I'm saying that they're not going to have as much drama. But I just feel like, for whatever reason, like this team is going to be better than people are saying. I'm hitting the over. I just feel like the calming presence of Al Horford is going to come upon thee, and they are going to be good. Because when was the last time Al Horford was on a bad team?
Probably never. Maybe one of the early
Even
Hawks
even
teams that he played on wasn't good,
I
but
mean, he was on the Hawks teams that all five of them started basically, right, in the All-Star game, right?
yeah,
He was on that team. He
yeah.
played in Philly for a few years, but even those teams were in the playoffs and were productive. Okay,
He played in
he's just
Oklahoma
never,
City for a year,
and that
but he
was
didn't
right
really
before they,
play.
yeah.
Yeah, he
And
sat.
then he
They
and
were
then he came
bad, but
back to.
he really didn't play.
Well, wasn't that the year that he like lost his mom or something, and there was a lot of other extraneous factors going on
Yeah,
or
like he
something?
just didn't play. Yeah, I don't remember all the circumstances, but yeah,
Yeah,
he spent a season in Oklahoma City where he basically didn't play very much for whatever the reason was
but
at the time.
yeah. But anyways, I'm just saying, like, I just feel like that team is going to be good, so I'm going over.
Okay. So the case for you, right, is Steph Curry, historically great, Jimmy Butler, when they got him last year, it kind of locked everything into place. And they went, what, 23-6 or 23 and not something like that down the stretch last year when they had all those guys in the lineup. The counter is,
23-7.
I mean, these guys are, I mean, 23-7. Okay. So the counter is that these guys are old. Jimmy Butler, 36, Steph Curry, 37, Draymond Green, 35, Al Horford, 39. So four of your five starters are age 35, age 36, no, 35 or older. And Jimmy Butler has not had a reputation for taking the regular season super seriously. Now, obviously, last year he gets traded to Golden State, signs the new contract, gets the money he wants. Now he's been paid. Jimmy Butler's track record would say that once he's been paid, things change slightly. And I just think that the age of these guys, the odds of all four of those guys making it through the entire season healthy, I think is slim. Number two, I think that, and probably based off that 23-7 record at the end of the year last year, that they probably feel that if we can get to the playoffs healthy, with our four guys that, as you were saying, we're as good as anybody out there. And maybe they are in one 7-game series with all those guys healthy. Maybe they punch a little bit above their weight. But I think as a regular season team, I'm not sure how much these guys are going to be killing themselves to win 48 games as opposed to winning 44 games. And so I like the team. If I could knock 8 years off each of their top 4 guys, I would like them even more. I have no idea who's gonna be their 5th starter. Is it gonna be Buddy Hield? Is it gonna be Podziemski? Is it gonna be Moody? Did you know Kevin Knox is on the Golden
Oh
State
yeah.
Warriors roster?
Yeah.
I just I don't know who their 5th guy is gonna be. What obviously the Kuminga thing got settled, but he doesn't wanna be there, and they're gonna look to trade him the moment he becomes eligible to be traded, so you have that kind of thing hanging over the team. I don't know. I just don't think this team's gonna care enough about the regular season, and I don't think that they're gonna stay healthy enough to get to that number, so I'm going under on the Warriors,
Okay.
despite the greatness of Steph Curry and how good Jimmy Butler is as a player, and as you said, what Draymond is and the respect that you have for Al Horford. I just think their age and their I just don't think they're going to care that much about the regular season. I think they're going to try to make sure that they are healthy heading towards the playoffs and do whatever it takes in order to be able to do that. So I'm going to go under. I don't think they're going to go way under, but I see them in the 43 to 46 range, somewhere in there.
Okay. The Houston Rockets, 52 and a half. Van Vliet's injury. Kevin Durant's not on the team. I mean, this one's tough for me because like Houston was the number 2 seed. They're being treated they're last year. They're the 3rd highest win total. Yes, they're better with Durant, but they lost Fred VanVleet and now. So who's their starting point guard again, Mike? What's his name?
Well,
The
depends
guy,
on what direction you want to go.
the
Where do
guy
you
that
think they're going
Simmons
to do
wants
it?
on Boston. The guy that Simmons wants from Boston for Boston. The
Reed Shepard?
2nd-year player.
Reed,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Reed
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Shepard. Reed
Reed
Shepard.
Shepard. So he's gonna. I mean, that the fact that I had it, like, obviously I should probably pull that off the top of my head, but I don't know. 52 and a half seems like I'm down on Houston. Just because the Van Vliet thing, and maybe this is just reactionary and it's recency bias, but I don't know. And Durant, I mean, how many games is Durant going to play? Like, is he going to play 82 games? No. Is he going to play 70 games? Maybe. I'm going under. And maybe I'm speaking good season into existence for the Houston Rockets, but I'm not buying it.
Well, if you're not buying it, I think Durant obviously adds an element to the Houston Rockets that they did not have last year. Their biggest problem was how did they generate baskets in the last 4 minutes of the game? And a lot of times, unfortunately, that answer was give the ball to Jalen Green, who's no longer on this team. Now, if the option is give the ball to Kevin Durant, clearly you're in much better hands. Yet at the same time, Durant really hasn't impacted winning in a meaningful way since his toe was on the line against the Bucks when he was back in Brooklyn. And part of me wonders, yeah, he's going to have an impact, but how much of an impact is he going to have? I'm not sure. Losing Fred VanVleet clearly hurts. I think that Houston has 2 directions that they can go. You mentioned one to start Reed Shepard at point guard, which is what they might end up doing. On the other hand, they could decide to go with a gargantuan lineup and just hand the ball to Amen Thompson. And even though he's not a pure traditional point guard in any way, shape, or form, he is a guy who is an unbelievable athlete, who has a great feel for the game, and whose star turn is coming at some point. Whether or not he can ever shoot the ball effectively enough to climb up into the superstar, this guy's the number one option on a championship team. I don't know, but
Yeah.
he's clearly something. And Houston may just decide we're going to bring Reed Shepard off the bench as our sixth or seventh man, just as a shooter. And who knows? Again, he didn't play last year. We didn't see him play against NBA competition last year. So to be honest, I have no idea what to expect from him. Clearly, as the number 3 pick in the draft, obviously a guy who has talent and can do some things, but we haven't seen it at the NBA level. And then you got Şengün, who's coming off a Eurobasket where he was tremendous, and he had a really good year last year. And you got to think that he's only going to get better. So when you look at Houston, I think there's a lot of signs pointing different directions. I think you can make a case for Houston being a fairly high variance team, even though like I like their talent up and down the board, and they can throw some huge menacing teams out there. You think they could? I mean, they have Steven Adams and Capella, and Şengün is obviously big and mean and just a guy who is not afraid to throw his body around. You got Jabari Smith, who was the number 2 pick in the draft, who is almost an afterthought, even though he's a really good player. This team's deep, and they've got a lot of different options of the way that they can play. Uh, Losing Van Vliet, I think, takes one of those options away, but I do think this team is going to be good. And they finished second last year without Durant, and replacing Jalen Green with Durant feels like it should be a huge upgrade. And then I know Fred Van Vliet is good and steady and has played in a lot of big games, but I would say that the upside, if it goes well for Amen Thompson and Reed Shepard, is probably higher than Van Vliet. So, man, I don't. I want to say under, but I feel like it's going to come together. For some reason, I just feel like that the Van Vliet loss is not gonna it's not gonna kill him. I'm gonna go over on the Rockets.
All right. Look at you. Okay. We got two
All right.
disagreements in a row.
All right. And then
All right.
we're gonna take a break to let my dog out.
Well, you had to say something. It's your fault.
All right.
All right, you
Sorry,
ready?
everyone. I'm ready. Let's do it.
All
Move
right,
on.
so we're gonna get back on the agreements trail. The Los Angeles Clippers, 47 and a half. I'm going under.
Okay.
I listen. I just have to say two words: James Harden. And I guess I'm gonna add one more thing. And Kawhi Leonard's health. Like how many games is he playing? I know he played a pretty good, decent amount last year, but can we really rely on that for 2 years in a row? Like, also, like, you don't think the NBA is going to take some liberties with some things that have occurred over the offseason to maybe atone for said situations? I mean, there's a lot of black clouds hanging over the Clippers organization in general. Like, think about it. We've gone from what seemingly was, oh, they built this brand new stadium and oh, are supposed to host the All-Star game this year, right? They got the All-Star game. Wouldn't it be great if
Yes.
they just pulled the All-Star game from them? Come on. The black cloud over the Clippers continues. Donald Sterling's gone. This guy takes over, does a great job, and then they're somehow illegally Ponzi scheming, paying Kawhi Leonard off to the side with some fake company that doesn't exist that's now bankrupt, and he didn't have to do anything for him. Like, it just, listen, as my friend Judge Judy likes to say, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, then it's a duck. I'm taking the under.
Over.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
here's why. My and your disdain for James Harden is well known if you've listened to the podcast even more than once. But the fact of the matter is that James Harden is in the regular season a very, very productive player and a very good player in the regular season. Kawhi Leonard, seemingly at the end of last year, was mainly healthy. I have not heard anything to counteract that point heading into this season. His health is probably, well, I don't want to say as well known because nobody knows anything about his health, but he's as healthy entering a season without mystery surrounding that health as he's been in a while. Now, clearly, he has this whole thing hanging over his head, but you don't get the sense that Kawhi lets really anything bother him. He's just kind of marching to the beat of his own drum. And then you look at the rest of the roster, and I just feel like they have some guys that Zubac had a really good year last year. They brought in Chris Paul, who's 40 years old, but can Chris Paul play 15 minutes a game behind James Harden and run a team in such a way that allows them to maintain kind of what the first unit did? I believe he can, even at age 40. They signed Brook Lopez as a backup to Zubats. Now, is Lopez the guy that we saw in Milwaukee when they won a championship? Probably not. But can Brook Lopez still be effective on the floor, shooting threes and spacing the court and playing defense for 15 minutes a game behind Zubats? I think he probably can. Derek Jones Jr. continues to be a very good defensive player. Chris Dunn continues to be a very good defensive player. They got John Collins essentially for next to nothing from the Utah Jazz. And I think Collins is going to be a big part of what they do. Bradley Beal, despite his crazy contract and the fact that he's had difficulty staying healthy, if he somehow does stay healthy, he is a productive player, nowhere near as productive as his contract, but he's a productive player. I just think this is a team that in the regular season, they have an opportunity to chalk up wins. I still have no belief in them in the playoffs, and I would expect and continue as long as James Harden's on their team, I'll continue to pick against them in the first round every single season that they're in the playoffs and Harden's on their team. But I think this team, I think the roster is deep enough that despite how good the West is, I think the West has a ton of teams that are all kind of the same are on the same level, where I don't think that the Clippers are good enough to win a title, but are they good enough to finish third in the Western Conference if things break right for them and break against a couple other teams? I think they probably are. So I'm going to go over on the Clippers.
Okay. All right. So we're still, let's see. The Lakers, 49.5. I'm going under, Mike.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I know. I know it's interesting, but here's why. Because after everything that happened to you today, you know all this stuff, right? You know all this stuff that happened today.
I
The
saw
second
all the stuff.
decision, it
Yeah.
was a Hennessy
Oh yeah.
ad. It,
Oh yeah. I
okay.
saw it all.
All right,
Yeah. I
all
saw
right,
it all.
LeBron. All right, LeBron. I still want you to come back to Cleveland. Okay, I'm just making this clear. He's not going to go quiet. I've reversed course. He's not going to go quietly into the night here. He's not.
You
He's
think
not going to
he's
do
going
it.
on a retire he's going on a retirement tour is what you're saying?
No, he's not going on a retirement tour. What he's
Well, I
not
don't mean this
retiring after the
season.
season.
I know, but I'm saying
But what I'm
you
saying
don't
is he's
you
not
don't
going to let
you
Luka
don't
win
see
the
a season you
MVP.
don't see a season ending and he's going to walk away. He's going to announce before a season, right, that this is his
Yeah,
last year. He's going to be
but
getting
but
rocking chairs and gifts in every NBA city. He's not going to just
but
quietly end the season and
you know,
retire. I can tell you that.
what I'm really saying is this though. He's not going to let Luka dominate the headlines. Like I want Luka to be the MVP. I want that to happen. I think that would be pretty awesome, but I just don't think that he's going to let it happen. He's gonna have all the attention on him. I just don't see it. So I just think there's going to cause we're going to get some subtle social media stuff. We're going to get the fit in or fit out. We're going to get that nonsense, and there's going to be some LeBron vacations in Miami or rehabs and something, and he's going to sit out, or you know, my favorite thing that happened in the first preseason game. You saw that Bronny went 1 for 14, right?
Yeah.
In the preseason game, and then he said, "I just
Getting his
didn't have my
shots up.
legs under me.
Yeah. Wow.
I just didn't have my legs under." Come on, Bronny. Come on, buddy. Like, it's not working. This is not working, brother. Anyways, I'm going under.
Okay. I agree with you in this case. I think that you make a compelling argument that the LeBron drama is going to be pretty strong this year. And it goes back to, I think we've been having this conversation since the very beginning of the podcast, is that there's just no way that LeBron is going to sit back and hand the reins to any team that he's on to somebody else. And I don't think he's going to do it now with Luka. And I think you're right that there's going to be drama surrounding that. Now, if you're betting the over on the Lakers, you're betting that in shape Luka is going to go back to being a top 3 player in the league. And if he is in shape and he does stay healthy as a result of being in shape, then I'd say there's a pretty good chance of that happening. But I don't know, man. I look at the rest of this roster and comparing the rest of this roster to some of these other rosters in terms of the depth. I just don't know like who on this team can you count on besides LeBron and Luca. And yeah, I guess Austin Reeves maybe on the offensive end of the floor, but he's not giving you anything on the defensive end of the floor. Gabe Vincent, DeAndre Ayton, you're putting stock in what he's going to do based on his career. Maxi Kleber, Bronny, Jackson Hayes, Hachimura's fine, but is his 3-point shooting that he's had the last 2 years, is it real? Is anybody really afraid of Rui pulling up from three? I just don't like Jackson Hayes, Jake LaRavia. I just don't like the rest of their roster. I think they got a bunch of Marcus Smart. They got a bunch of mediocre guys that I just think this roster is extremely flawed. And if Luca and LeBron somehow coalesce and carry this team to 50 wins, it's a pretty impressive performance. I think if they get to 50 wins, that Luka's going to have a good shot at the MVP if they get to 50 wins. And I just don't see it. So I'm going under.
All right. The Memphis Grizzlies, 39.5. Traded Desmond Bane away. Ja Morant stayed out of legal problems.
Hurt, though. He's hurt. You know, he's going to miss the beginning
Yeah.
of the season, right? Sprained his
Yeah.
ankle. So
Jaren Jackson Jr. Is he?
out.
He's out.
He's out
There's
for
no
the
way.
beginning of the season.
There's no way this team is close to 500. This is like, this is a 35 win team. I'm going under.
You know, Brandon Clark had more surgery too.
Oh, you're just
Zach
adding
Edey.
fuel to my fire. Under.
And Zach Edey is out as well. I can't, to be honest, I'm kind of stunned that this number is at 39.5. And I guess if you
It
make
was
all
at.
these
I
guys
did this
healthy,
today, Mike. I did not
Yeah.
even do this last week because in case something changed or
Yeah.
someone got hurt, I wanted to
Yeah.
be the most accurate for when we were doing the podcast. So I updated this like today when I got home from school, and this was the number. So
I just don't see how this team gets to 40 wins.
okay, so here's
And
my
it's
question. So
crazy to think-
I'm gonna jump
Okay,
two
go
ahead,
ahead.
Mike. Is this
Okay.
team, as it's currently constructed with all these injuries, or is the New Orleans team with Zion Williamson a better team? Because I think that they're comparable.
They're probably comparable. It's almost impossible to even have a conversation at this point about the Pelicans and Zion without sounding like a complete idiot, because everything you have to say is, well, if Zion's healthy, well, yeah. I mean, like if he's healthy,
Pigs fly,
sure.
right?
But yeah, we haven't seen it in 6 seasons. So despite the fact of his body transformation and all the things that it looks like he did over the summer to get himself ready to play, until you see him play 82 games and be able to play a game in the playoffs, which he hasn't done yet in his career, it's hard to fathom anything is going to happen with New Orleans. That's a positive. Conversely, we've seen this Grizzlies team, and obviously they've changed out the back end of their roster and changed out their bench, but we've seen the Ja Morant, Brandon Clark, Jaren Jackson Jr. We've seen that group win 50 plus games and finish second in the Western Conference. So it's theoretically in there, but Ja is now 26 years old and what, 3 seasons removed probably from when he was at his peak. And with the injuries and the off the court stuff, I mean, have we? It sounds crazy to say, but have we seen the best of Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr.? Like, I've never really loved his game. Like, I wouldn't have. If it had been me, I would not have given him a max extension if I was the Grizzlies. I think, to me, if Jaren Jackson Jr. is your second best player, I'm not sure what you have as a playoff team. Maybe if he's your third best, but if he's your second best, I don't really like that. And clearly I mean, at worst, he's their second best player. And depending on what you think of where Ja's at this point, he might be their best player. And I don't know. I just think that they're continuing to build around Ja and Jaren Jackson Jr. at this point seems like a mistake. And not only just because they're both hurt, but I just think the players that they are and with
The proof is
Ja's
in the pudding. Right?
off-court history. Yeah, I just think that this roster has seen better days, and I don't like building my team at this point in Ja's career around him. And I never would have liked to build around Jaren Jackson as my second building block, maybe as my third, but there's no way he's a number 2 on a legitimate championship contending team. And this team clearly is not. So anyway, I'm going under on the Grizzlies.
Okay, Minnesota Timberwolves, 49.5. I'm locking this one. This is a lock. This is over. I just think this team is going to be really good this year. Another year together, another year under Finch. Randall surprisingly was competent for them, right? Like he was competent. Anthony Edwards
Good
is
year.
another year. Anthony Edwards is another year like doing it. Gobert is a goofy dude, but it correlates to regular season victories and help. Um, I I just think, you know, I just think this team's going to be good this year. I'm going over. I think they are the 3 seed in the West. I think they're above Houston. I go OKC, Denver, Minnesota. That's my hierarchy in the West right now. That's where I'm going.
That's totally fair. And I think when you look at this team, you have to look at where is the upside. They've made the Western Conference Finals the last 2 years. Anthony Edwards is still only 24 years old, which is crazy when you think about that in the olden days, right, where guys stayed 3 or 4 years in college, he'd be in like his second year in the league. And he's already established himself. Probably with Tatum's injury, he's probably the 5th best player in the league. And we talked about him a lot when we went over the survey and talked about the best American player and all that stuff. We kind of dissected his game, but Edwards clearly still has his career is still on an upward trajectory. I would argue that Jaden McDaniels, 25 years old, his career is also on an upward trajectory. And he had a really good playoffs last year, shot the ball well, continues to be a really good defender, long, can guard multiple positions. You talked about Randall, a weird player, a guy that likes to have the ball in his hands, but if he has the ball in his hands too much, how good is your team? I think that that's mitigated somewhat by what Anthony Edwards does and how much he has the ball. And so it leaves Julius Randle to kind of do Julius Randle things when he gets an opportunity. Rudy Gobert's a defense in and of himself. As you said, he's a weird guy. He's not going to contribute a whole lot on offense, but when you throw him in the middle of your defense, you know what you're going to get there. I kind of think that the key for them is going to be how do they replace Nickeil Alexander Walker and what does Mike Conley have left in the tank and how much are they going to have to play him simply because they don't necessarily have anybody else at the point guard position that you feel like is competent. Rob Dillingham out of Kentucky as a rookie last year didn't play. Can he replace Nickeil Alexander Walker, or is he more of a point guard? His reputation coming out of college is as a scorer. So can he be that scoring guy? He doesn't have the size that Nickeil Alexander Walker did to be able to play defense, but can he at least get on the floor and give him some offense? Terrence Shannon had a good playoffs last year. Can he be the guy that sort of replaces Alexander Walker? I don't know. To me, the question is, what does this team do at point guard if Mike Conley is unable to go or is looking like a 37-year-old, which is kind of where he was at last year. Still a KG veteran guy who can do some stuff, but I don't think at this point you want Mike Conley playing 32 minutes in a regular season game or a playoff game. And maybe the answer is you just give the ball to Edwards and he becomes your point guard and you kind of live with the growing pains of having him do that. This team's going to be really good because Edwards is only going to continue to get better. And we know how good he is from the last 2 playoff runs. So I think you're right. I think they're right there with Houston fighting for that 3rd seed. And to me, I think this team wins 50 games. They've gotten off the slow starts the last 2 years, but I think they're going to get to 50 wins. So I'm going over with you.
All right. The New Orleans Pelicans, 31.5. We already kind of talked about them and where they're at. It's all dependent on Zion's health. I'm gonna surprise you. I'm going over, Mike. I'm going over. I'm gonna be a believer with you today, Mike. I'm gonna be a believer, and I'm gonna say that Zion's gonna play enough games that they're gonna go over 31.5 wins.
Sounds fair to me. Look, this team, again, It sounds ridiculous. It depends on Zion's health. You put Zion in this lineup and you have Trey Murphy and you have Herb Jones, two guys who can defend. Trey Murphy, who is an elite shooter, Herb Jones, who became a better shooter. You've got Dairy Queen, who they traded away their first round pick to Atlanta next year, who hurt his wrist during summer league, but obviously they have high hopes for what he can be. They traded for Jordan Poole, who knows what that's going to look like. They drafted Jeremiah Fears, point guard, 18 years old, guy who has speed, has quickness, can get to the rim, not much of a shooter at this point in his career. DeJounte Murray coming off his, I believe, second torn ACL. So there's pieces here if all this comes together, but I don't know how you can really count on this team to be anything more. I guess we're only counting on them to win 32 games if we're taking the over, which if Zion plays 65 games, I think that there's no way that they don't get to that number. So I'm going to continue to be a Zion optimist and just say that even though this is a weird team, and even though I still don't know exactly what's happening and whether or not this franchise is even viable in New Orleans for the long term, I just want to see Zion be good. I don't want to bet against him. I don't want to root against him in any way. I just think that he's such a special talent and so unique. And when he's going well, there's nobody that's more fun to watch in the league. I don't think there's anybody that I would tune in to watch when they're at their best more than Zion. And so I'm going to go over too, just because I'm going to continue to bet the optimistic side of Zion because I just want to see it. I want to see the guy on the floor, and I want to be rooting for him and not against him. So.
All right, Oklahoma City, 62.5 is the over-under. Mike, I'm going to let you go first on this one.
All right. I'm going to go over. And the reason why I'm going over is I think this team is still young enough, and there are guys on this team that still want to prove themselves that I think the regular season, despite the fact that they won a title, I feel like they're young enough that the regular season is still going to matter. I think now when you look at, let's start with Shea, right? Wins the MVP last year. Even now, heading into this season, I think most people are not picking him to repeat and win, even though he's going to clearly be the best player on what is presumably going to be the best team with the best record in the league. And the fact that people don't think he's going to repeat, it's got to sting a little bit. And I also think that when people start talking about who's the best player in the league, I think most people still think Jokic is the best player in the league. Well, if you're the reigning regular season MVP and finals MVP, you've got to feel like in your own mind that, hey man, like how come I'm not the best player in the league? And so I think that continues to fuel his fire. And so I think you're going to get the best of Shea throughout the regular season, plus the fact that he's only 27 years old. Then you go and you look at Chet Holmgren and you look at Jalen Williams, and those are two guys who are both young, both guys who are still chasing what their NBA career is going to look like, who they can become. And we saw flashes of that from Jalen Williams throughout the playoffs, how good he can be. Chet probably was a little bit further away from his potential than Jalen Williams, but both of those guys are still on the ascent. They're both guys who want to accelerate their career. They're guys who want to, their best basketball is still ahead of them. And when you have two guys who are 23 years old and 24 years old, I mean, those guys are still going to get after it in the regular season. They still have the young legs to be able to do that. They're not going to be sitting out a lot of games for rest. I just think that this team's core is all young, with the exception of Caruso and Hartenstein. And I don't know. I just think this team is going to continue to be a juggernaut as you look at a regular season. They're not going to pull they're not going to pull their foot off the accelerator as much as I think a normal title team would, simply because in so many ways, just the way people felt going into last season's playoffs that they were kind of unproven. I think there's a feeling amongst people that even though this team is really, really good, I think on an individual basis, people are still kind of like, well, is Jalen Williams good enough to be a 1A on a team? Is Shea, should he really, is he going to win multiple MVPs? Is he going to lead a team to multiple titles? Chet, what can he become? And is he really an all-star player? And so there's all these questions surrounding a team that just basically ran roughshod through the regular season. And then, they struggled a little bit with Denver and then Indiana in the finals. But I just think they're going to keep their foot on the gas. And that's why I got them going over.
I'm going under.
Okay.
This isn't gonna be because I think Oklahoma City is a worse basketball team. I want to be clear here. I don't think that's the case. I think they're just gonna get everybody's best shot every night. And when you're playing in the Western Conference, you're gonna get, I don't know, they play 2 or 3 games against Denver. They play a bunch of games against these teams. I just feel like 63 wins is a lot. And I know they won 68 last year. And I know that they were good the year before. But there was a lot of talks about people not knowing whether or not they were for real or not because they were correct me if I'm wrong, 2 years ago they were the number 1 seed and then they lost in the first or second round, right?
Second round? In the semifinals to the Mavs. They lost to the Mavs. Yeah. And they were, I believe that year were they might have been the 2 seed that year, but yeah, they were right at the top of the conference.
They were top of the conference. So the bottom line is this. I think every team is going to come in with their best shot. And obviously there are teams that are not, like Utah is not going to be able to match up with them. But I just think there's enough hinkiness that I think 60 wins is right around where they're going to end up. So once again, if a team wins 60 games in the regular season, that is still a pretty darn good season. I just think it's hard to replicate a 68 win season. And obviously the over-under doesn't say that it needs to replicate a 68 win season, but I just don't see it happening. 68 wins last year is pretty impressive. I don't think it happens. I think they're under. So I'm going under on it.
Do you think they have the best record in the league?
Or I think they do. I think six. I think six. No, I don't think the Cavs. I took the under on the Cavs. Remember, I don't think the Cavs are getting that high. I think they have the best record in the league, but I don't think they crack six. I don't think they get to 63. I think 60. I'm topping it off 60.
That's fair. I think they're definitely going to have the best record in the league, and I think over. I don't know if they'll get to that 68 number, but I don't think they're taking their foot off the gas. So
what? Yeah, and to counterpoint myself here, like when I look at who they're playing against in the Eastern Conference, like when they play any of the Eastern Conference teams and they play each team twice, like what Eastern Conference teams am I picking to beat Oklahoma City in a regular season matchup? The Cavs and the Knicks, right?
Cavs and maybe the Knicks, and otherwise Oklahoma City would be favored probably in every game, depending upon whether it's like the second night of a back-to-back or something like that. Maybe if Orlando's good, or maybe in Milwaukee or something if it's the second night of a back-to-back. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So all right. The Phoenix Suns. They have 31.5, Mike. Obviously Durant's gone. Bradley Beal's gone. They got Jalen Green now. They got Brett. They still have Devin Booker. This team is terribly constructed. I'm taking the under. I just can't. They're terribly constructed.
There you go.
I don't even know what else to say. They're terribly constructed.
It's got to be an under. I mean, just saying it's terribly constructed, I think, is enough to kind of summarize what they've done. They're not individual player wise, like they're not horrendous. If you look at their starting lineup of, again, depending on what you think of Jalen Green, you start Green and Booker in the backcourt. Then you've got Dylan Brooks is going to start for this team. Mark Williams, who had his trade to the Lakers rescinded due to health, is probably going to start for this team. I have no idea who's the fourth starter. Is it Royce O'Neal? Is it Grayson Allen? Is it Ryan Dunn? I mean, the pickings start getting pretty slim, and I'm not even sure how much I like the starting lineup. So yeah, I don't. And Booker was, I think, worse. That last year was probably the worst year of his last 4 or 5 years. So that's not trending in the right direction, and I don't think they're going to be any better. And so that's not going to motivate him to compete any harder. So I'm going under I'm with you on Phoenix. I don't see it. I don't see how this team gets to 32 wins, especially playing in the West.
Yep. All right. Another team that we have questions about how they're constructed, the Portland Trailblazers. 34.5. Okay. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. What's his name for Boston has not been bought out yet, right? So he's still on the roster, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. You know, who they trade Anthony Simons for?
Jrue
Why am I
Holiday.
blanking
Jrue
on
Holiday's
it?
still, yeah.
Drew Holiday's still on his roster,
Portland.
right?
I thought you were
Even though
talking
he
about
said he
who's
didn't
still
want to play it.
Yeah, I thought you were like,
Even though he
who's
said
on
he didn't want to
Boston. I was
play
like,
there,
oh,
right?
yeah, right.
Drew Holiday
Yeah.
said he did not want to play in Portland, and he's still there. Just clarifying that. That's what he said, and he's still on the team.
Correct.
I'm going under. I'm going under. Not be, it's horribly constructed. The vibes are off, Mike. The vibes are off. He doesn't want to be there. It's not going to go well. And maybe he gets traded again. And maybe I'm wrong. I know this team over like remember last year. I think they're over under, and I'm just doing this off the dome. I'm pretty sure Portland's over under was 20.5 last year or something like that. And
it was low.
We both said, and I believe we both said under last year, or we said that we were not going to be good. And then they obviously overproduced. Regression year coming. I mean, Dame's not playing at all this year, right? I mean, there's no chance. I know I saw him working out on the floor, but he's in the same situation. You know, he got hurt sooner than Jason Tatum got hurt. So maybe there's a chance. But once again, it goes back to your same point, like why rush him back? It's not like the Portland Trailblazers are going to be playing. If anything, they're playing for the 10 seed, okay? So, like, is that worth it? I don't know. So that's why I'm going to go under here because I just don't see this team being constructed in a way that is constructive towards winning.
You said the number was 34.5?
34.5.
Got it. All right. Look, I think the thing with the Portland Trailblazers is that when they traded away Dame Lillard, right, the whole idea of making that trade was the fact that they were going to draft Scoot Henderson, and Scoot Henderson was going to slide into that franchise player role that was vacated by Damian Lillard. And sure, he wasn't going to be the instant success in terms of you're not taking veteran perennial all-star Dame Lillard and getting that same type of play, production, leadership from Scoot Henderson. But certainly heading into that draft, right, in 2023, you had Victor, and then Scoot was probably leading up to that draft the consensus number 2, even though Brandon Miller ended up going to Charlotte with the number 2 pick, and then Scoot went number 3. I think the entire fortune of the Trailblazers franchise pivoted on the selection of Scoot Henderson. And not that it was the wrong pick in the moment, because I think clearly everybody had Scoot as kind of a can't miss prospect. And to this point in his career, he has not come close to living up to being a franchise player. He just hasn't been. And if you look at the rest of the roster around him, Shaedon Sharpe's 22 years old, interesting guy, does some things scoring the basketball and athletically that get you excited, but doesn't seem like he's a guy that is going to develop into an all-around superstar player. He may end up being a good player, but I don't think he's a star. Then you already went through the Drew Holiday saga. They drafted Jan Hansen. Jeremy Grant, for some reason, is still on this roster. Last year they took Klingon, who had a good rookie year, but again, he's not a star. They traded for Avdia, which is probably the best move that this front office has made. And Avdia turned out to be a very good player. He's probably on a really good team. He's a good number 3, maybe number 4 player. He's solid, does everything well, but he's not a star. And this team, I just think it all went away when Scoot turned out not to be a great player. And here's Scoot's stats for his career: 28 minutes a game, 40% from the field, 34% from three, 3 rebounds, 5 assists, averaging 13 points a game for his career. Not horrible, not awful, especially for a guy who comes out into the draft at a super young age, but not numbers that lead you to believe that a star turn is coming. Maybe it is, but it seems somewhat unlikely. And also, he's going to be out 48 weeks here at the beginning of the season because he has a torn left hamstring. So I think the Scoot Henderson thing was the big turning point. If you look at that draft, I went back and just pulled it up. You had the Thompson twins taken right after him. I think probably both of those guys would get picked ahead of Scoot, right? If you redrafted that, I think Portland would probably take either one of the Thompson twins right now over Scoot Henderson.
Probably Thompson.
I mean, you take both of them, right? You take either one of the twins, right? Before you take Scoot Henderson at this point. And then after that, you're looking at but then the thing is then you go Anthony Black, Bilal Coulibaly, Jarace Walker, Taylor Hendricks, Cason Wallace, you'd probably take over him. Jed Howard, Derek Lively, I don't know. Grady Dick, Jordan Hawkins,
Jalen
Kobe
Tyson?
Buffkin, Keontae George. No. Jordan Hawkins, Jalen Hood Shafino, Jaime Jaquez, Bajemski, Cam Whitmore, Noah Clowney, Derek Whitehead. I mean, there's not it's not like
I was saying, but I take Jalen Tyson over him.
Yeah. I mean, maybe. No, you wouldn't. You take
Scoot
Henderson over Jalen Tyson. But I guess my point here is that, yeah, they probably would have been better off taking one of the Thompson twins. But despite the fact of the problem is Scoot Henderson's he's not a star, and it doesn't look like he's going to be a star. And that's kind of what this whole Blazers rebuild was based upon. That if Scoot Henderson became another Damian Lillard, this roster looks a lot different. It kind of fits better. It just doesn't fit when Scoot Henderson is just going to be probably an average NBA point guard. So I'm going under on Portland.
Okay. It's been a long time at Portland there, Mike. It was Sacramento. We've got 3 more to go, Mike.
All right, we're getting there.
Sacramento, 34.5. I don't even know what to do with Sacramento, Mike. Here's why. Because this is another team. Yes, Sabonis is good. But, you're playing in the West. How are you winning games? How was Sacramento gone from a team that was the 3 seed, 2 years ago? 3 years ago?
Yeah.
To now a team that's obscure, obscurity. They're brushed off. This is, we talk about the Cleveland Browns mismanagement in the NFL. The Sacramento Kings are the NBA team for that. The Wizards have been terrible. Okay, the Wizards have been god awful for years. Okay, Utah is not much better. Okay, since the Donovan Mitchell era ended. Okay, but Sacramento has been toiling away. They finally have a team that was good, and then they immediately completely dismantle the team and fall apart. I don't understand it, but there's no way you're going to get me to trust them at all and take the under or take the over. I'm going to take the under on this team. I don't believe 34.5. I think that this team, I think Portland, I think Phoenix, they're all about the same, which is bad in the Western Conference. And then there's
this
Utah,
team couldn't
which
figure
we'll
out
talk about
this.
that.
Yeah, this team couldn't figure out how to play De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Halliburton. When you consider that that could have been their backcourt and was their backcourt, and they couldn't figure out how to make that work with those two guys, it's kind of crazy that they had both of those guys on their roster, and now they have neither one, and they really have Domantas Sabonis to show for it. And I don't know. I mean, I don't I don't mind some of their guys. I don't mind DeRozan. I don't mind Malik Monk. I don't mind Sabonis. They signed Dennis Schroeder, probably overpaid him, but I don't mind Dennis Schroeder. I just don't know how this whole thing fits together. And there's a lot of relying on Zach LaVine and a lot of paying Zach LaVine. And Zach LaVine has never, I believe, played in a playoff game at age 30. And with all the success that he's had individually, statistically, I just don't know he's a winning player. And Sabonis has proven himself to be kind of a James Harden type of player in that really good in the regular season, puts up really good stats in the playoffs. Different story. I don't think this team is going to sniff the playoffs in the Western Conference this year. I think they're a DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine injury away from really having some struggles, being able to generate any kind of offense. So I'm with you on the under for Sacramento.
All right, 2 left. San Antonio. The over-under is 44.5. 44.5. Mike, here's what I'm going to say. I want this to go over. Because that means that Wemby's having a great year. Right? Agree?
Great.
The Wemby Fox connection's working. I know you've been a big Fox supporter in his career. We're both, I think we respect the game that Wemby's playing. But here's what I'm going to say. In the 2 seasons he's been injured, he literally couldn't play, 3/4 of the year last year? Half the year last year? Was it December he got shut down? Is that right? Is it December last year?
Somewhere in that range. He missed a significant chunk of the season. Let's put it that way.
So I think in this world that I live in, which is reality, this team is a 500 ball club in the West at best. And I think that this 44.5 is an overinflated number based on betting markets. So I'm going to go under, but not because I don't think this team's good, because I think they're good, but I don't think they're 45 wins good. It's just no way. There's no way. In the Western Conference, there's no way. If they were in the Eastern Conference, you could sell me on it. The West, I'm not there. I'm not buying what they're selling. I'm going under.
Okay, so there is a way. The way is that Victor Wembanyama becomes one of the 5 best players in the league. And he's already the best player on one end of the floor. I don't think there's any doubt that had he remained healthy for the entire season, that Evan Mobley would
He's
not be
not the
holding the
reigning
defensive player of the year. I didn't say he was the reigning defensive player of the year. I said he would have been the runaway defensive player of the year. And Evan Mobley would not have been holding that trophy last year. And I think as long as Victor qualifies for the award over the next 10 years, it's hard to see anybody else ever getting that award. So you start with the fact that he is the most impactful defender in the league on one end of the floor. And then you look at what he potentially brings to the table on the other end of the floor. And you can say like, okay, well, he hasn't really reached his potential yet, which is 100% true. And you'd like to see him play inside more, and you'd like to maybe see him not jack up so many threes. But then you look at it, and his statistics say he's shooting 47% from the floor, which is like for a 7'5" dude sounds terrible, but he's also a lot of those shots are him chucking up threes. You have he shoots 80% from the line. He's averaging 11 rebounds in his career, 4 assists, almost 4 blocks, only 2.5 fouls, and 22 and a half points per game as a 21-year-old. If he gets to, and I'm not going to say even gets to his potential because he's not going to get to his potential at age 21, but if he takes a leap, which is entirely possible, then this team could easily win 45 games. If Victor Wembanyama takes a leap offensively, this team's going to be really, really, really good. Can he stay healthy? I don't know. His body, we haven't seen too many guys at that size that move like him, but we also haven't seen many guys at that size that have been able to stay healthy over the course of not just a season, but over the course of their career. And obviously, we're hoping, like all get out, that he stays healthy so that we can watch this guy play and see what he's going to be capable of moving forward in the future. And so I think really you're talking about when you're betting the over or under on this, you're betting on, is Wemby going to stay healthy? I think if he stays healthy and plays 70 games, I think there's a decent chance that the Spurs go over this 44 and a half. But if he doesn't, then there's absolutely zero chance that they go over 44 and a half. So I don't really know where my loyalties lie in terms of Victor Wembanyama's health. I do like the Castle, Dylan Harper, and obviously De'Aaron Fox has always been, as you said, I've always been a fan of De'Aaron Fox's game. I think he's going to be a good fit with Wembanyama. If he can get healthy, he's out with the hamstring at the beginning of the season, which doesn't help because he's missing all the training camp when they're trying to build chemistry and put this team together and figure out if those three guards are going to play on the floor together, what combinations work, all that stuff. So there's a lot to be figured out with this team, and I'm not sure how many guys in this roster, when the Spurs are really ready to contend for a championship, if Victor can stay healthy, how many of these guys are actually on the roster. I don't really know, but something tells me that Victor's going to stay healthy and that he really is going to take the leap that many people expected him to take last year. So I'm going to go over on the Spurs.
Wow. Okay. I feel pretty locked that it's under. I'm just saying.
And you
I think it's overinflated.
Right. I think a Victor leap is coming. I really do. And I think if Fox can somehow stay healthy, I think those two are going to be dynamite together. So we'll see.
Those are two big ifs. All right. Okay. Yep. Utah, 18.5. I'm not making this mistake again, Mike. The team with the lowest over-under total. They have no business winning probably 15 games. But I'm going over it because I'm not getting bit by this twice. Because last year I definitely took the under on Portland and then they won 14 more games in their over-under. 18.5. I mean, that is a very low amount. That is very low. So I'm going to go.
That's a low number.
I mean, I said under on Washington last week, and you said over. I just can't go. I cannot go under 18.5 wins. I just can't do it. And they very well may only win 18 games or 17 games, but I just can't, in good conscience, say that this team is going to win less than 19 games. So I'm going over, even though they're terrible.
I mean,
are you going to go under?
They're pretty terrible. The roster is pretty. It gets
Lauri Markkanen's good though, Mike.
It gets grim fast.
Is he going to get shut down? Is Lauri Markkanen going to get shut down halfway through the season?
I think the question is, does he get does he get traded? At this point, I guess Utah still can tank and try to get Darren Peterson or try to get AJ DeBansta or whoever's going to be the number one pick this coming year. DeBansta's playing at BYU, so maybe it's just a natural transition that he's the guy that they get that becomes their franchise cornerstone. Pair him with Ace Bailey and go from there. I don't. This I mean, this team just has a mishmash. Bang bang. George Niang is on this roster. Did you know that? It, I
Listen,
just the
George
roster
Niang, the
just doesn't.
winningest player in the 2020s, is no longer going to be the winningest player in the
No,
2020s.
he's not. No, he's gonna be plummeting like a stone on that list. He's gonna be plummeting like the minivan or the bus or whatever his nickname is. Look, this team's gonna be bad. I think again they're gonna want to be bad. I think there's the potential of trading Lauri Markkanen, which makes them even worse. I think there's a decent chance that Ace Bailey kind of gets the ball and gets some chances to test his limits of what he can and can't do. So I think this team, the combination of they'll be happy to lose games, their roster is constructed to lose games, and the fact that I think there's a decent chance that they trade Markkanen at some point during the season, all that leads me to believe that in the Western Conference, I'm going to take the under.
Okay, so here's a question, Mike. I'm going to ask this question. George Niang has 295 wins. Second place is Jason Tatum with 291. Obviously, Jason Tatum is not going to pass him.
Correct.
How many games before Nikola Jokic catches him, and Jokic is 7 games behind? 8 games?
7 games. Yeah, 8 maybe. I mean, yeah, they're. I mean, if they're winning,
here's the question:
if they get to 18,
is George?
What?
How far down is George Niang on this list after this season? Okay, so let me just lay this out. George Niang's been comically the number 1. Okay, Jokic is 7 behind him. Mikal Bridges is 21 behind him.
Okay.
Zubac is 24 behind him. And Giannis Antetokounmpo is 27 behind him. So are all 5? Here's the question. Here's the thought exercise. Are all 4 of those players going to pass him?
Giannis is not going to catch him.
Oh, and there's okay. What about Rudy Gobert? Is 30 games behind him? No. In Minnesota,
that's more likely than Giannis, because I don't think the Bucks are not going to win 50 games. The Bucks maybe win 45. Minnesota could win mid 50s, which if
Donovan Mitchell's 37 behind him. Will the Cavs win 37 more games than Utah Jazz?
It's possible. It's possible.
So Donovan Mitchell is all the way down at 13th.
Let's leave it here. That trivia question, which unless you already knew the answer to it, nobody was going to be able to answer that. The answer to that trivia question will very, very quickly no longer be George Niang. Let's just leave it there. I don't know where the line's going to be, but George is going to be well below it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. So maybe we'll do a George Niang stock watch after the first few weeks of the season and just see where is he at. Where's he at? So
there we go.
And watch Utah win like the first 3 games and be like, Utah win the first 3 games or something ridiculous, and it'll be like, no.
Yeah. Oh, wouldn't surprise me in the least. So, all right. Well, that's the Western Conference.
Right,
next
Mike.
week, I don't know if we're going to do our win-loss draft or do our tiers. We'll have to see where we want to do, because I guess we kind of
going to do our tiers this year, Mike. I thought we were.
I don't know. I feel like
I thought we said we weren't going to do our tiers this year.
I feel like doing the tiers though helps me to like crystallize kind of where we're thinking. So I think we have to do the tiers. So maybe we should.
All right. Well, you're going to have
the draft and the tiers.
To send me.
Yeah, I'll send you the
tier.
You're
going to have to send me the category. Since you've got all the time in the world now, you're vacuuming, you're doing all these things now. You're not.
I got it all done right there.
So
I got our list. So yeah, I'll send you the tiers from last year. What we have, we think we can win. We can win. I forget all of them, but we'll we'll have to come up with a tanking, some kind of tanking rhyme that we always throw together. So anyway, we'll be back
I mean,
next
who's
week with
who's the
some
number
version
one?
of
Who's the number one pick
Darren,
projected to be next year in the NBA?
Darren, probably either Peterson or DeBansta, one of the two, I'm guessing right now.
Okay.
So
Peter out for Peterson.
there you go. There you go. Stand down for DeBansta.
All
I
right.
don't know. We'll figure something out. Anyway,
I'll
thanks for
I'll
checking
let you
out
work
tonight's
that.
NBA. Okay, thanks. Thanks for checking out tonight's NBA episode. We will be back next week with some NBA preview, whether that's in the form of our annual wins-loss draft or whether that's tiers of the NBA or some combination of both. And then we are getting closer and closer to real regular season NBA basketball, which after watching your beloved
2 weeks.
Cleveland Indians lose in the playoffs and then watching the godforsaken Cleveland Browns continue to lose games in the Brownsiest of ways, I'm ready for the Cavs season to begin. So that's where we're at. Thanks to everyone for checking out tonight's NBA episode, and we will catch.
Did your computer die?
Yeah, it was so weird. Just went like as soon as I said, it totally went black.
Yeah, well, I didn't say. Didn't even see you saying goodbye. I just heard you say, "We'll catch you on our next."
Yeah, so I don't know if it captured it, but obviously I can just record.
Well, yeah, and it's still.
Okay, let me get. I'm getting back in here. Let me get back in here. That was strange. Get back in. Come on. There we go.
And you're not there.
All right. And you're not there.
I'm in here. It's still going.
Yeah, I
1
see
hour.
it. I see it. I'm in here. I see
Yeah, I see it. I'm in here.
I hear you.
All right. Well, I'm gonna hang up the phone. We can just talk, even though we can't see each other.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Let me see. You can hear me?
Can you hear me? Yeah. Can you hear me?
Hey. No, I can't hear you. That's
I can
weird.
hear you. You can't hear me at all.
I can't hear you. That's weird.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear myself
Talk.
in the.
Yeah, I hear you.
All right, I'm just gonna end it. So I'll on the computer.